How do you inspire kids to get interested in engineering, science, and math? Well, you find great mentors. And CBS 4's Gloria Neal shows us Denver Public Schools has a program doing just that.
At third grade, their mind is like a soccer ball. The more you pump it, the bigger it gets.
And pumping the minds of third, fourth, and fifth graders full of science, technology, and engineering and math, that's the goal. But first, every group has to come up with a chant. These students represent 60 Denver public schools chosen to participate in the Summer Engineering Experience for Kids, better known as the SEEK program. This is Michaela's first year.
I want to be an engineer or a teacher that teaches engineering.
Why?
Because when I was little, I really liked engineering, and lots of people have been telling me about engineering.
All right, classroom 202, are you ready?
The National Society of Black Engineers developed SEEK as a way to address the lack of African American students in science, technology, engineering, and math.
A lot of the kids in these neighborhoods, particularly where we're teaching right now, believe that they can't go to college or they can't study engineering, but when they see a mentor who looks just like them, comes from where they come from, they're inspired to pursue the same kind of paths.
And that's especially true for girls. Henrietta is a chemical engineering major and a SEEK mentor.
SEEK is the best way to reach out to our children from a young age and basically develop them through the NSBE pipeline.
They do it by showing kids science and math are everywhere, including what makes a glider glide, exploring the relationship between force, motion, weight, and lift.
The United States graduates 1/10 of what graduates as far as engineers and technical professionals compared to China and India. And for us to be the energy leader, the manufacturing leader like we are again, we're going to need more technical professionals, and we want to build it here right in the United States.
CH2M Hill is a major sponsor of the SEEK program. They recognize the need to grow our own, and 9-year-old Michaela understands too. She has this advice for other little girls who want to become engineers.
They should never worry and have fun and learn from their mistakes.
All right, thanks, Glo.
Bears getting into town may be easier than you think.
CBS 4's Gloria Neal in the Interactive Help Center to explain. Glo, we just always assumed they took light rail into town.
You know what? At least the bear didn't ask for a bear claw. Okay, I couldn't help myself. Here in Colorado, we are used to seeing bears in their natural habitat up there, you know, where there are lots of trees, wildlife, and vegetation. We are not used to seeing bears in the burbs.
Tried to trank the bear a short time ago, and either on the run, the bear knows he's being trapped.
Apparently, this bear in Boulder Heights can't sleep, which explains why it has broken into homes for the last 2 nights looking for food. And there is that other bear in Broomfield. Bears are big, but honey, they are also fast.
Whoa, how could he get all the way over here?
Really quick. And if there aren't good sources of food in their habitat, well, they move even faster, down to hours, along the Highline Canal, through Denver, and up toward DIA.
You can imagine if a bear were to catch this and start wandering through town and come out of the riparian area, it can hit almost any backyard in the urban areas and just find an abundance of attractants and find itself in a lot of trouble.
The Colorado Department of Wildlife urges everyone, especially those living in the foothills, store your trash in bear-proof containers and keep your dog and bird food feeders inside, not on your deck. Bears in the burbs might seem cuddly, but real bears are anything but. Jim?
Yeah, we don't like to see those close encounters, Glo. Thanks very much.
You're so big.
Yeah.
We're going to check those top stories next. CBS 4's Gloria Neal sat down with the actor before the luncheon to learn more about how Gina is using her celebrity to help improve the lives of women right here in Colorado, and she is just fascinating.
She is very fascinating, and she was a tremendous amount of fun. I mean, Gina has a passion for making sure that girls and women are portrayed in strong, effective roles, and she says the message of how women are portrayed in the media is received by girls at a very early age.
Girls as young as 6 years old now are self-sexualizing. They're looking at themselves through the male gaze and deciding that they need to be sexy and thin and pretty and everything. It's horrifying.
So tell me about C. Jane and where the name of that organization came from.
When my daughter was 2, she's 10 now, I started watching, G-rated videos and things with her. And I was shocked to see how few female characters there were.
Gina says now her kids get it.
Talking about it with them while they're watching actually is a really effective tool because there's nothing to tell them this isn't actually accurate. Women can't be that skinny in real life.
Louise Atkinson is the CEO and president of the Women's Foundation. She says that's exactly why Gina was chosen as the keynote for their 25th anniversary luncheon.
Her voice advances the cause of the Women's Foundation of Colorado, clearly. Her influence for women and girls crosses all types of boundaries.
6,000 girls don't graduate from school in Colorado every year, which is why Gina's voice is so important.
What Gina's trying to do, which totally aligns with what we're trying to do, is to make sure that girls have a very positive self-image, confidence, good mentoring, let them reach their full potential.
And even though Gina won her Oscar for performance in The Accidental Tourist, it was Thelma and Louise that changed Gina's life and ignited her passion.
I'm always amazed that we made a film that really inspires women and they feel jazzed and energized, and we kill ourselves. It's like, what if we didn't even kill ourselves? You know what I mean? It just shows how few opportunities we give women to feel really invested in the female character.
Going out on your own terms, Gina plans to continue working with her organization, See Jane, and improving gender portrayals in children's media. As for the Women's Foundation, they have made some huge progress with getting Senate Bill 22 passed, which allows women to receive raises at work without having that raise decrease their child care assistance. So a lot of good stuff going on, and she was wonderful. Gina was very real, as we say.
Yeah, she gets her point across. She's very strong with her point, with humor. She's so funny.
She was very fun with humor. And she even talked about women in politics and how that portrayal. And so she's not just stopping with little girls, she's going all the way.
Right. She certainly made me think with my 2-year-old. So good
Good.
stuff, Gloria.
Yes.
Thank you. Can't wait to hear this, Gloria.
Oh, it is so interesting. I had a blast with her. As the Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright carried the full force and might of the United States as she negotiated with other world leaders. And it is because of those world leaders, some good and, well, you know, some not so good, that her book, Read My Pens, was born.
None of this would have happened if it hadn't been for Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein, the now dead Iraqi dictator, was no fan of the former Secretary of State, who didn't bite her tongue when it came to putting dictators on notice. So she began wearing a snake.
One of your colleagues zeroed in on it and said, "Why are you wearing that snake pin?" And I said, "Because Saddam Hussein called me an unparalleled serpent," and that's how it all began.
She says she happened to have the snake pin, and since she was the only woman on the UN Security Council, she started wearing that snake pin whenever she began talking about Saddam.
My instructions were to say perfectly terrible things about Saddam Hussein constantly. He deserved it. He'd invaded Kuwait.
World leaders began to read her pins to know what kind of reception to expect. She wore flowers and bird pins if it was a good day. She wore spiders and snake pins if she anticipated a bad day. And she wore crab pins when she said she was dealing with crabby old men.
I thought that was fun, and I went out and decided that I'd buy a lot of costume jewelry to reflect what I thought was going to happen on any given day.
Any given day, indeed. Now, the pins were born because of Saddam, but the title of the book was born because of the first President Bush. After he said, remember this, read my lips, no new taxes. Well, Secretary Albright said she began to tell world leaders to read my pens. And the former Secretary of State told me a very funny story about former Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. She said he loved giving her hugs because he said she had firm breasts. She replied, "Of course they are. That's how I hold up all these pens." Karen and Jim.
What a treat. What a neat lady. What surprised you the most by her, Gloria?
You know what? I knew that she was going to be candid, but I had no idea that she was going to completely come out of her bag and tell it like it is. She says the best part of being Secretary of State is being the former Secretary of State. She was awesome.
It is a bit of a homecoming for her at the museum because I know she spent her teen years right here in Denver.
That's right. Her father taught at DU. The Corbell School there is named after him. So yeah, lots of history here, and she considers Denver home.
Fantastic.
Great stuff. Thanks, Gloria.
Reports focusing on issues facing baby boomers. First up, their health and the milestone that no other generation has reached. CBS 4's Gloria Neal joining us in GLOA. This really is nothing for the boomers to brag about.
No, it is not. On the surface, though, Jim, it sounds good, but living longer does not mean healthier living. So every generation likes to think it is healthier than the one that came before it, but Baby boomers can no longer make that claim. Baby boomers were born between 46 and 64, and there are about 78 million of them living in this country. Now, according to the Journal of the American Medical Association, while baby boomers are living longer, there is the presumption that boomers are the healthiest generation. But here's the truth. While some are living longer due to healthier living, other boomers are living longer because they're relying on medicine. In essence, they're living longer with a greater burden of chronic disease and more disability. Now, the biggest ailment of the boomer generation is hypertension, or we know it as blood pressure, which is high blood pressure, primarily due to being overweight and obese. 35% of those in the previous generation had high blood pressure, while more than 75% of baby boomers today do. And that's despite greater awareness today, as well as better screening methods and treatments. Here's something else. 7% of those born in the baby boom use a cane or some other device to help them walk. That is compared to just 3% in the previous generation. And 13% of boomers have some limitation in their ability to perform their everyday tasks, like walking up a flight of stairs. That's compared to about 9% of those in the earlier generation. Now, the study also found that those from the baby boomer generation have become overly dependent on medication and surgical solutions rather than creating those good health solutions. So, Jim, be advised.
I'm a boomer.
Honey,
thank you, Glo.
You're welcome.
A trip to Israel sparked a real estate broker's passion to unite communities. In tonight's Making Their Mark, Gloria Neal introduces us to Josh Yedis.
I like that, and sometimes it's great, and sometimes it actually is a detriment.
Showing your clients you care, that's what the real estate business is all about, building relationships.
It's not about showing houses, it's not about pulling listings and sending them, because anybody can do that. It's about communication, and I've learned that long ago from my mom.
His mom, Fran, works for the same business, in the same office, practically at the same desk. Imagine looking at your high school picture on your mom's desk and then an adult picture as well. Indeed, a family affair.
When I first got into the business, my mom would have been the first to tell you that I had a tendency to be too emotionally invested in my clients.
How different is it for you to work with your mother?
When I got into the industry, my brother and sister looked at me and said, "You're absolutely crazy, what are you doing?" It's actually wonderful. My mother is one of the top agents in the country, so it is actually a match made in heaven because she has a wealth of knowledge.
Josh says he is making his mark at RE/MAX Masters by educating his clients.
I want my buyers, after we have been out several times, to be able to walk into a house and say, you know what, this one's overpriced, or this one's underpriced.
As for the housing market in the metro area right now,
it is hot, hot, hot. It is really incredible, but it's also very scary in a sense.
As for making his mark in the community,
we worked with Ethiopian Jews in Israel in a community called Lud. It's a very high-risk, high-crime neighborhood. The community in Israel has almost forgotten about these people, and it was an amazing experience to help work with these kids and help them understand that people are out there helping them and want to be there.
It's through the Fulda Foundation, Josh's own nonprofit, with the help of the Denver Allied Jewish Federation, that Josh is making his mark a world away.
What I've learned is what I have given has come back to me 100-fold and more.